Welcome to ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, brought to you by the Z1 Sim Wheel, LCD display and LCD display software. Head on over to z1simwheel.com where you can pick up the hardware or software to get all of these dashboards on your sim rig or on a second computer that you've got. And also has telemetry displays. Very helpful during a race. Check it out at z1simwheel.com. This is Season 9 of the GTC Race 6. It's a 2-hour Enduro at Suzuka. I'm Daniel Quaroni, and with me here are Brian Carey.
Hello, everyone.
And Anthony Muniz.
Hey, great to be back with you.
Well, let's look at the standings before we get into the meat of this race. James Cullen leading the HPDs with 100 points. Brian Carey 12 points down, and his teammate Anthony Muniz 17 points down in third. Then followed by Daniel Quaroni in fourth, Brent Brile. So that's actually Kaiser Rennsport second through fourth. That's very nice. And then Russell Cow in the Radicals with 100 points leading. Lauren Bateman following fairly far behind as in second with 22 points down. John Kuzlin 32 points down. Tied with Mike Kelly also 32 points down. So that's a third place battle right there. Carl Mumbauer and Carl McLean pretty close in fifth and sixth. Finally in 4GT, we got Eduardo Benica with a 91 points, so not the perfect record that the other two have, but Corey Davis and Daniel Giralty are locked up for second, both 9 points down. And Timothy Stahl, Todd Carver battling out for that fourth spot, and then the field drops quite a bit. Brian, take us around Suzuka. We got a short pace lap, so...
All right, well, here we go. I mean, there's a lot of corners here, obviously 18 corners. Things to look out for the S-curves there, turns basically 2 through 7 into Dunlop are very exciting, very fun, but going to be difficult for lapping the slower traffic. Spoon Curve, 14 in particular, the second part of it, very important to get a run down the longest straightaway that we see here. While turn 15 for the HPDs is flat out, but the rest of them might have to lift. And then the chicane, which is going to see a lot of action as well. Very exciting track. Looking forward to it, and we're about to hit the green flag right now. So
yeah, unfortunately, we're also going to see the qualifying times. Whoops, James Cullen on pole here with 145 flat. Brian Carey, Troy Harder, Anthony Muniz, Mike Young, Daniel Quaroni, Dan Benningfield, John Kelly, Brent Briles, and Jeremy Burrows. Unfortunately, we are going to go on to the next class, and it's going to cover up all this great racing, but we'll just have to deal with it. Let's have the Radicals, please.
Oh, they're coming. Here they are. Daniel Verness, pole position, 156 flat. Russell Cowell alongside him. Mike Kelly and John Kuzlin at battle for the championship sitting there in the second row. Then Chuck Chambliss and Carl Mumbauer in the third row. The fourth row is filled by, apparently they've got eaten by probably Godzilla. And then the fifth row there, we're scared by Godzilla and didn't bother to show up.
And then for the Todd Carvers, they braved out Godzilla. Todd Carver made the pole there, and with Timothy Stoll not too far behind, Corey Davis and Eduardo Benica on the second row with Daniel Gralty and James Mines on the third, Tim McLeish and John Rosettos with Matthew Voigt and someone else on the last of the fifth row. I couldn't see because we're on board with Ryan Huff, and his name tag covered up the bottom of the qualifying list. But right now they're just making their way through the hairpin. That's turn 11 rather, going down towards Spoon Curve, and it looks like everyone had a clean start.
Yeah, these short pace lap. Oh, as Mike Kelly gets... Oh, Chuck Chambliss, that number 2, again screwing me up, gets very sideways, but keeps it together. Unfortunately, these short pace laps are great relief for the drivers on these long tracks, but don't give us quite enough time to get through all the paperwork in the beginning of the race.
Yeah, exactly. Now, look, speaking of paperwork, I'm not sure what happened, but James Cullen apparently forgot to fill his, and he's off our leaderboard right now. Let's see if he gets reacquired as he comes across the line here. Because I am sitting here.
We are looking at Jeremy Burris and Brent Briles batting out, and we go on board with Mike Young behind Troy Harder. That is currently in fourth for Mike Young. Troy Harder in third at the moment.
Looked like I had a pretty solid lead there up front, but no, James Cullen back in the lead, about 1.5 seconds ahead of me, and you can see the good battle here. This is a battle for third place between Troy Harder and Mike Young, as you can see. The Peak Racing machine, number 13 for Troy Harder, the 21 ISRA machine for Mike Young, and then behind them is, looks like that was Anthony Muniz, behind those two. Now they're entering Degner 1 and coming into Degner 2 here. So Degner 1 is a pretty fast entry, very shallow. Whoa! Troy Harder is off the track, and it looks like Mike Young has taken the place. See if Muniz can take advantage of that and take the position away from Troy Harder, but it doesn't look like he has positioning. I'll go through some of these corners here as we go through, just because I didn't really get a good chance as we went through the very quick opening segment here, so we'll just take a look out for that later.
And Ryan Huff battling it out with Lance Snyder as they make their way through the hairpin. Here's Matthew Voigt, who we haven't seen a whole lot of this season so far, and he is looking to hold off Eduardo Benenka, but he quickly loses that before they head down into the Degner intersection, and that is a battle for 8th place rather, which Eduardo Benenka has securely taken. So he did have an issue coming through the hairpin. I think it was just an awkward starting position for him when they took the green flag, and I think he half spun it or spun it going through this corner right here. So he's going to have quite a bit of work in front of him, but he does have 2 hours to do it.
Anthony Muniz here, all over the back of Troy Harder. Let's see if we can get him there, and then back to Chuck Chambliss and Karl Mumbauer. Karl Mumbauer in the purple and white car up ahead there. Chuck Chambliss got a great run, but he's going to have to follow in behind him as they're going through 130R coming up here. It's really not a 2-line corner. You can't really go side by side through there. That said, if you get a good run, you get to go into the chicane, but it doesn't look like Chuck has been able to do that, so Karl Mumbauer holds on to that position for the time being, that position being 5th place.
Wow, Chuck looked like he went very sideways on entry, but it actually set him up really nicely in that chicane. Looks like he's got the inside line. Obviously, he's got a very slight speed advantage, I think. I think he'll be able to get the position, no problem.
Yeah, Chuck looking like he has actually a pretty solid connection in this race. Well, that was Matthew Voigt off on the right side of the track, and Stephen Clark looks like he was able to take the position. Not sure what happened there, but a little bobble from Matthew going through 130R. Not quite flat out in these Ford GTs. You actually, I think, have to take out a dab of the brake or get off the gas pretty severely to get through 130R without much of an issue. The HPDs are through 130R perfectly flat out. So actually, once the HPDs come up to start lapping some of these slower cars here, that's where you get the really, really big speed difference. HPDs are pretty much faster through most of the track, but going through 130R against the Ford GTs, you're going to see a massive speed difference.
And we're taking a look at the battle between Daniel Qualroni and Daniel Benenfield as they head through 130R right now down towards the Castle chicane. And Benefield looking pretty racy so far. He was quite all over the rear wing of Qualroni right now. Also taking a look at John Kelly, who we didn't see a whole lot of in the last race, but he's going to lose a couple positions there exiting the chicane. Very easy to get a bit of oversteer, and I think that's what he did. He just lost the straight line speed. He's going to try and come back at Jeremy Burris going into turn 1, but pretty easy to defend there on the outside going into turn 1. You're able to take you're braking a lot later unless instead of trying to make a move there on the inside. So look for people defending on the outside going into turn 1 throughout this race. And right now we've got a tight 3-way battle here in the LMPs for 8th, 9th, and 10th, as Jeremy Burris is really looking very racy so far as he tries to make his way past Brent Briles.
We've got John Rosettos just up ahead of Eduardo Benenka. John Rosettos a little wide through 130R, and Eduardo Benenka's got a great run on him. He's going to go to the outside here. Let's see if he can do it under the brakes going into the Casio Triangle chicane. Not going to be able to do it, but looks like Eduardo Benenka trying to make his way back up to the field. Will be looking to get past Rosettos as soon as he can.
And then a little bit further up the Radical field, here's a battle for 3rd place. John Kuzlin trying to see if he can't find his way past Mike Kelly as they head down to... and Mike Kelly gets all out of shape there going through, what is that, turn 7, the Dunlop curve, I believe that is. And John Kuzlin able to get by before they even get to Dunlop or the Degner curves, but gets a little out of shape there exiting turn 9. Luckily, he manages to hold on to the position.
We've got another battle here. It looks like Jerry Mooresdorf up ahead of Lance Snyder and Ryan Huff. This is a battle for 12th. Very solid HPD field here in the 2 hours of Suzuka.
And riding on board with the number 31 of Jules Zamret as he heads his way through turn 1. Ooh, looks like someone's getting sideways. Ooh, John Kelly also getting sideways, heading through turn 2. Looks like he
all three
was,
of them.
yeah, indeed they were. I believe that was Jerry Morsdorf who was out of shape first, and then John Kelly, or it might have been actually Brent Briles, because that was who John Kelly was chasing. So both of them getting out of shape, going through the second part of the, or I guess rather turn 2, and that's a couple positions there for Jules Moret.
We've got John Kuzland all over the back of Russell Cow, but Mike Kelly has been able to close right back up after that earlier mistake in the Dunlop curve. So this is a very tight battle for second place right now. Daniel Burness is checked out to about a 3.5 second lead, so he's a little bit out of the picture right now. But Russell Cow, John Kuzland, and Mike Kelly battling hard.
And it's so close here between this group with Jerry Morsdorf leading the 3 cars.
Yep, that's saw a quick glance of a Lance Snyder there earlier, and he had very nicely obliged by posting a video of an entire Iron Maiden concert for me, which was, well, I shouldn't say an entire concert, a collection of concerts, because they world tour, they showed it from different locations. Point is, it was pretty awesome, so thank you very much, Lance, for that. Enjoyed listening to that. It's been a while since, now that I remember, still don't know the names of any of the songs really, I couldn't pick them out, but I could definitely pick them out by sound, that's for sure. Oh, Gilles Moret off the track, and that's going to allow looks like Brent Briles back and John Kelly back around, so they're shuffling around back there in the 9th through 11th. That's earlier issue with Brent Briles, and basically just shuffling the deck of HPDs right there. Actually, a really good view of the cars heading into Lance Snyder and Ryan Huff going into turn 1, now turn 2. Good helicopter shot of them going now through the S's here. So you get to see how this track really does snake back across itself, and it really requires a lot of concentration as these cars go through a very, very quick and flowing racetrack that is Suzuka Raceway.
We're going to jump ahead to watch Anthony Muniz following Troy Harder here. Troy currently in the 4th spot.
You can see that we were making our way through a Ford GT, I believe that was of Stephen Clark, and once you start hitting the traffic here, because like Brian said, this track does flow so much and you need to keep up a lot of momentum, that once you catch up with those Ford GTs, if you catch them in the wrong spot, particularly in the S curves there at the beginning of the circuit, you can really lose a lot of time. And if gaps have built up, 5 seconds, that can easily close within 1 lap. Ooh, as Jules Moret is going to sneak by John Kelly there, going through the Spoon Corner as he went a little bit wide. John Kelly, you can see off in the grass, or the sand trap rather, so he's going to lose a lot of positions there.
That was a good big log jam going through 130R here. Ooh, Lance Snyder almost putting a wheel off there, not quite, but we'll go back to some radical battling. That's back to John Kuzan and Mike Kelly, who we saw earlier in the program, are tied currently for 3rd in the championship, I guess. I think that's where it was, 2nd or 3rd. Remember last year, Mike Kelly was our overall Daytona Prototype champion, edging out Russell Cow actually in the final race at Laguna Seca. So those guys are again running in pretty close proximity in the track again in the radicals, which is good to see. And Daniel Benefield, who hasn't been able to run all the races with us, coming in from Australia, not the easiest of times to make the race for him, is doing a good job right now in 7th place.
And you can see the gap between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the radicals hasn't really changed all that much. Looks like Russell Kyle has been able to open up just a slight gap over John Kuzlan, but really these guys have stayed quite close so far in the early stages of this race. Mike Kelly seems to have a pretty good pace, but John Kuzlan, being his normal consistent self, able to stay in front of him so far and holds on to that 3rd place position.
Quick note there, we just saw a pit out note for Eduardo Beninca, so something must have happened to him to cause damage that he pitted this early in the race.
You're watching these radicals here. It doesn't look like they weigh more than like 100 pounds. As Russell Cow is getting big sideways right there, and that's going to allow John Kuzlin to go on the inside, and he should be able to take the position, but not necessarily a given considering what part of the track it is. That's one thing. If you're able to go on the inside of someone, it's unfortunate because if you don't get the pass done, the next corner is probably going to be you're going to be on the outside. So you got to watch that. Now with Daniel Caroni off the track a little bit, he's let Daniel Benefield by, and Jeremy Burris is looking as well. In your living room. That is a great camera shot. But not a great incident for my colleague Daniel, as he's lost a couple of positions now. He's dropped down from 6 to 8.
And you can see they have caught Ford GT traffic right now. I believe that was... oh, and Jeremy Burris is off after the little straight there between turns 2 and 3. It allows Coroni to take the position back. And you can see he sneaks on the left side of that Ford GT. Like I said, if you catch the Ford GT, especially in that corner right there, you can lose a lot of time. As we ride on board with John Kelly right now, it looks like someone else is off the track as well, going through the S's section. Or maybe they just kicked up a little dust there. But right now he's fighting in for the 13th position right now. You can see there's a couple more LMPs up there that he's trying to get by. Also, Matthew Voigt there. That was a great shot. You can see the closing speed. They're going through the Dunlop curve. And that it's going to be... It's probably going to get a little bit hairy here as we get through some of these traffic. And a lot of these guys, especially the LMPs right now, a lot of close battles. And they're going to want to try and stick with the guy that they're chasing down as best they can.
I just want to do a quick shout out to Tim McLeish there in that earlier battle as they're just coming up towards the Dunlop curve. Tim McLeish in the green steam whistle car had Daniel Caroni and Jeremy Burris right on his tail. Ran around the corner there. Daniel Caroni put his nose in there, didn't dive in, but put his nose, showed his intent, and Tim McLeish was able to hold his line around the outside. And if you're able to hold your line in the slower cars, the HPDs can get around pretty easily, and that's a pretty, gotta say, pretty heads up there. As you can see the massive closing speed you saw right there, and that's going to be a pass opportunity for Jeremy Burris, but good heads-up driving by Tim McLeish, very skillful there, and everyone got around, probably didn't lose very much time by doing it, so it was a good example of multi-class racing right there.
And that was a good example there while we were riding on board the front nose of Jeremy Burris, just how much speed you can lose if you get stuck behind a slower class car, because we saw the closing speed that he had on our colleague Daniel Coroni as they head through the 130R, and he gained almost an passing opportunity right there.
Speaking of passing opportunities, you've got Daniel Benefield getting around Anthony Muniz by using Corey Davis as a pick.
So it's going to probably come directly off Corey's pay, as he is a new member of the team there, and unfortunately that worked out that it wasn't Daniel Benefield was able to get around Muniz, but it's a long race. There's an hour 45 left, so I'm sure it'll shake out. I'm just kidding. Corey doesn't get any money for this.
We don't pay him. And here's a very, very close racing between Jeremy Morsdorf and Ryan Huff. Ryan Huff able to sneak it on the inside of Morsdorf as they were heading through the Degner section of the circuit. And because it looks like Morsdorf just went a little bit wide going through that first corner, and that was an opportunity that Ryan Huff was able to take, and he was able to take that position away, and that was a well-executed maneuver.
We got Muniz right on the back of Daniel Benefield again. Daniel Benefield able to take advantage of the traffic there, but it looks like Muniz has the speed on him. He looks like he's taking a good look on a 130R. I don't think that's going to phase Daniel too much, but going into the chicane here, I don't think he's quite got the speed going into the chicane here. But we'll see about turn 1 if he's able to do anything. Well, we're not going to see as we're on board with Lance Snyder.
Well, now, this is an interesting situation because I don't think Lance is going to clear that Ford GT. No, he certainly isn't by 130R, and you're going to see the loss of speed here. If Lance had timed that a little bit better, it's possible. Nah, there really wasn't any space for him to make a move, but you got to look for those opportunities. If the guy ahead of you is right behind the Ford GT, you need to look to see if you can hang back, take your foot off the gas a little bit, and then get through faster and get by.
Yeah, the old adage, slow in, fast out, really does apply in the multi-class racing, because you could really go full guns, try to get inside of a Ford GT or any of the slower class cars, but if you don't make it, and you get to the apex of the corner, you're still behind them. There's not a lot you can do except for slow down. And if the guy behind you has timed his pass, close move with Burris and Coroni there. Not quite, but wow, that was fantastic stuff right there, side by side, very intense. But like I said, you just really got to time your passes there. So whether the guy in front or the guy behind, you want to be rather be faster out than then faster in and slow out. So.
And this is a battle for the lead in the 4GTs. You can see Timothy Stoll there in his number 77 Axe Racing, or Axe sponsored car, just behind the overall leader for the 4GTs, Todd Carver, as they were heading through that section. Looks like traffic kind of got Todd Carver out of his rhythm a little bit as he had to yield the inside, and that allowed Stoll to close up even further. And so that looks like that is developing into a close battle. Also, Corey Davis about a second off of that battle, so that could quickly become a three-way battle for the first place position in 4GTs.
Actually, random trivia, the Turn 1 Heroes cars are not only sponsored by Axe, they're actually fueled by Axe as well, so their exhaust smells fantastic. Oh, good look by Anthony Muniz there. He's got on the inside of Daniel Benefield. He's got them all shaken up going through the chicane there. Oh, look at these cars are everywhere. It's looks like Coroni got wide. Burris is making a run on Muniz right now. Kaiser Run Sport cars going left and right. Looks like Burris has got the 6th position. Benefield still in 5th. Let's see if we can see. Yep, no, looks like Burris has got the 6th position, but hopefully for Jeremy's sake he doesn't go off in 2 more corners like he did a few other times. Alright, and then just because my other 2 broadcasting colleagues are in the shot right now, I will talk about this. Daniel Coroni there is pushing hard to try to get on the tail of the Daniel Verness is now in 4th position. He was leading the race pretty handily, but he's got John Kuzlin on the one side. Oh, they're going side by side, and that is
really not giving a whole lot of space over there. Wow.
Yeah,
but
that was
looks
close.
Like they avoided contact and made it through with Daniel Verness ahead of John Kuzlin.
Yep, John Kuzlin now in 4th place. We're still on board with Daniel Verness. Behind Edward. Whoa! Wow! Did he just launch him up? Wow, that was.
I think he did.
What happened there?
Yeah, unfortunately, John Kuzlin, a car we can't go on board with. I believe he must start with a 0. No, he doesn't. That's weird.
I don't know. I think he was right there. We've been on board with him before earlier in the race, just not in that instance. But for Daniel Verness there, I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know what happened there. He was right behind a 4GT, and he just needed to go a little bit more to the left. He probably would have got by him, but instead he drove right underneath him. He didn't even look like he almost tried to avoid him. But sure, something happened there, and hopefully Eduardo is okay because his car looked like he got launched about 30 feet in the air.
It did.
Now we're back with Anthony Muniz, who's behind Jeremy Burris, who is behind Daniel Benefield right now. With this is a great 4-way battle right now for 5th position. Anthony Muniz is, there's Burris going, whoa! That was a good save there by Muniz to try to not avoid Burris, and Burris almost died there, almost took out Muniz, but he'll hold the position ahead of him, no problem there. Let's see, yeah, no, it's looks like they lost touch with Benefield a little bit, but that was a good save by Burris. He was dead in the water there, and Muniz at the same time looked like he was dead in the water too, but we managed to avoid contact, so good heads-up driving by everyone involved. Now on board with Daniel Coroni there, as you can see, he's kind of fighting there through the first part of Degner. The second part, you really take a good hunk of that inside curb in the second part of Degner. Not too much because it'll put you off, but you can take a significant amount. Now going into the hairpin here, following Anthony Muniz. Notice how the track, you can kind of see it there. It's cambered towards the apex, but as you get towards the exit, it kind of falls away a little bit. So your line going through the exit there is a little bit different. You're really going to follow the contour of the track to get the maximum amount of grip to go through that corner on the exit, because it is very important to get a good run out of there, because heading into Spoon would be a good place to pass. But now, because of Daniel Verness's problem and John Cruz a little bit behind, looks like Mike Kelly is now up with Russell Cow, and this is a battle for the lead in the Radicals.
And now we jump back to the now 3-way battle. You can see there is John Kuzin right there, actually, going through a 130R, and he's getting absolutely mauled by the HPDs rather going through, as they don't have to lift whatsoever.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That's the one corner in particular, because you really got to focus in the slower class cars. You get through 130R because it is a tougher corner, and to find your braking spot for the chicane. And because the HPDs close so fast through there, you can look in your mirror heading into it. Maybe you know, they look like they're really far behind, or maybe not even notice they're there. And you come into the corner trying to spot your entry for the chicane, and suddenly there's 3 HPDs flying past you. So That's the one spot in the track where the speed difference really catches you off guard.
And we're riding on the front nose of Ryan Huff right now as he tries to look on the inside of Gilles Moretz going into turn 1 and now turn 2. Looks like he might have the position. He's drifting wide exiting turn 2, so that means he has the position. That's a good move. He got a nice run going down the front straight over the timing line and able to get the pass made for, that was 10th place in the LMP, so well done.
Yeah, very, very firm, but very controlled pass attempt there by Ryan Huff. That was very good by Whatsoever. Just because of the way that corner filters in there, you really have to make sure you hold your line and not run wide, because there will still be another car on the outside of you there. And now we're back to Daniel Benefield trying to make his way through some radical traffic. He's caught up to Troy Harder, it looks like, pretty close. Troy Harder just right ahead of them in the blue and white peak-colored sponsored car.
And they are making their way through the radical leaders, so that means they've basically lapped all of the slower class cars so far. You can see, I believe that's another Ford GT just in front, but that would be the second time they're coming across passing. I believe that must be Stephen Clark right there. Indeed it is. So these guys have made it through one time in with the slower classes, and I'm sure they'll be doing that many more times in this race.
Alright, now this is a good coming... Oh, well, never mind. I was going to say the onboard there is a good shot of onboard of Mike Kelly as an HPD goes by. It looked like Anthony Muniz there. There should be a couple more following behind him, so let's see how this works out as he's battling for his own lead with Russell Kyle. There'll be one on the left-hand side here. Maybe, no, okay. Kind of hard to tell. Yep, there's Daniel Croney right there.
And we jump on the front nose of Corey Davis now, and he is fighting for second place. You can see the person that he is trying to chase down is Timothy Stahl, just up in front of him there in the black Ford GT, and then the overall Ford GT leader, Todd Carver, is just in front of him. So that, but the overall distance between first and third place in the Ford GTs is a little bit over 1.5 seconds at the moment. So that is slowly closing down and becoming a pretty close battle for first place.
Yeah, like I say, those radicals, I mean, they really do. I mean, they're very, the engine note is pretty high pitched there, and just the way they're able to change directions and kind of move around, they do look extremely, extremely light. Very fun to drive, but also very difficult to drive. They don't like to have a lot of grip, a lot of force pushing them into the track, so... Now you can see right there, Mike Kelly getting very squarely in a spot that most of the other cars wouldn't get nearly as squarely going through.
Another onboard shot. Let's see if we can listen to the engine note and see if they lift through 130R. Yeah, a little bit of a lift there for Mike Kelly as he heads through that corner. And like Brian said, there's not really these cars aren't really producing a whole lot of downforce like say the HPD is, and so they do. It is it's been described, I think, by some of these drivers a lot more like a go-kart would be. Because light and a lot of these cars do put out quite a bit of power. I believe it's a V8. I'm not sure what the horsepower is, but very zippy cars.
Yeah, it's the go-karts that I've driven for whatever on the sim. Maybe it's just how they're modeled, but the go-kart feels like, at least maybe because I was in it, but it felt like I had a lot more control on that than ever did with those radicals there. Oh, Benefield, huge! That's going through the Dunlop, and that's gonna. Oh, he keeps it off the wall. Very nice there, but that was very, very high speed. If that was real life, that'd be extremely scary. Probably a little scary in the sim there, but it's going to cost him a couple of positions anyway.
Now back with Corey Davis as he tries to chase down Timothy Stahl for that second place in the Ford GTs.
Enjoying the very pleasant exhaust fumes of that ACT-sponsored Turn 1 Heroes car, Timothy Stahl.
Looks like Todd Carver has been able to pull out a bit of a gap over Timothy Stahl, and so it could be the gap between these three cars is just about 2 seconds, so really not a whole lot more than the last time we checked, but it looks like Timothy Stahl has fallen back a little bit to Todd Carver, and Corey Davis is now looking to take advantage of that. Not sure what their overall speed is like, but there are a couple different strategies here for the 2 hours that the Ford GTs can use, and some of them people have been talking about doing a one-stop strategy for the Ford GTs. So well, that'll be interesting to see if some guys have to drive a little bit off pace to save fuel to be able to make that one-stop strategy work, or if they're just going to drive flat out and go with a two-stopper. And the battle for first place in the Radicals is still very close, about half a second separating Russell Cow from Mike Kelly as we ride on board with him right now.
Really working the wheel hard going through turn 1 there and into turn 2. Car not at all easy to point there. Mike's just kind of letting it float around the corners. Russell probably doing the same thing, but you get a really good sense of what Mike is having to deal with there as he's going through trying to get that car muscled through the first couple corners in the S-bends there.
And Daniel Colroni able to make up a bit of gap between himself and the number 69 of Daniel Benefield as he got held up a little bit there by the Ford GT of Tim McLeish. And you can just see that he almost was able to use that as a passing opportunity to get by, but didn't quite have the pace over Benefield. Jeremy Burris, however, looking very racy right now in 5th place for the LMPs. He is all over the back of Troy Harder. And this is a battle for 4th place. You can see there's a Ford GT up there. You might be able to use that to his advantage. But right now, Jeremy Burris has a great run on Harder. Not going to be able to get it. Maybe if he gets a nice run through the 130R corner, might be able to make a move into the chicane.
Yeah, James Mines there up ahead. He's got a... Well, there we go. Going through the corner there, having a couple HPDs come through in a very kind of awkward position, but well done by everyone there.
You can see Jeremy Burris lost a lot of time there negotiating his way through that chicane with the Ford GT of James Mines involved as well. So he's dropped, what is that? His gap is close to a second. So if you were watching close, he was right under the rear wing heading into that corner. And so that's just an example of how the slower class cars can affect the HPD that really has so much more pace than everyone else here at this circuit.
All right, we're just about half an hour down in this 2-hour race here. So taking a look at the standings, you can see them up in the top of the screen right now. James Cullen ahead of Brian Carey, Mike Young, Troy Harder, and Jeremy Burris, top 5 there. The Radicals, Russell Cow, Mike Kelly, Daniel Verness, John Kuzlin, Carl Mumbauer, and Chuck Chambliss. I think he's still running, but several laps down after repairing damage. And the Ford GTs, Todd Carver, Timothy Stoll, Corey Davis, Dan Gralty, quiet race down there in 4th position, and then James Mines, who we saw these guys just get by a few moments ago in that Red Bull sponsored. There he is in the background, Red Bull sponsored number 84 Ford GT.
And we'll go on board with the number 64 of Daniel Colroni as they head down towards the Spoon Corner Complex. And Colroni looks to be quite a bit faster through this section. You can see him making up a bit of distance between himself and Benefield as they head down towards the 130R. Not the draft, again, not really playing a huge part in the HPD races. It does kind of help, gives you a little bit of an extra boost, but really it doesn't really suck you up to the back of the car you're chasing like we've seen in other cars or previous races.
Yeah, actually, the cars that I've run in this service, probably the biggest draft effect you notice is in the Formula 1 car. You really get huge pull behind someone else there. Not very aerodynamically efficient, surprisingly, those Formula 1 cars.
Yeah.
They're kind of built for downforce, among anything, but I don't think iRacing quite models the turbulent air effect quite as strongly as it is in real life, and the draft effect seems pretty solid there. So anyways, in these cars here, it's not a big deal, but it definitely does help a little bit, especially if you get right under someone's tail and get a good run.
We can see Troy Harder getting caught up in traffic. That gives Burris an opportunity to get right on his back. Oh, and we cut away before we see if they both get by before the Degnan curves.
But really the same thing happening here, just a bit further back down the field. Colroni gets right up to the back of Benenfield as they head through Degner. Not really able to take advantage there, but it really helped to close the gap as they head down towards the hairpin.
That's another thing too, is you really got to understand, as well, all drivers really of any class, but from my point of view in the HPD, kind of where the where the 4GT drivers, where they're pushing, like where the cars naturally track out, and places where, you know, it's a good idea where you can kind of, you know, for sure, if you made a move, you could do it cleanly and get by them quickly, as opposed to a move where maybe you think you can get by them, but if you can only make it halfway, I mean, it's going to cause a problem for both of you. I mean, it's Jeremy Burris getting a good run as Troy Harder had to lift a little bit going around Todd Carver. He's going to go around the outside of 130R. I don't think he's got the... No, we don't, because why would we want to see that? Now we're back up over to Dan Crony, coming up to the same corner here. Not nearly as close, but he's pulling up to him, and if he gets a good run through 130R, he might have... Oh, he had to back off just a little bit there. That was timed just half a second too soon there on that run that he had, so you'll have to wait, gear up again and try another corner. Because basically the idea there is Daniel Corner gets a full throttle run through 130R, pulling up in the draft there, gets a better run through the 130R, and then can set up his positioning and make a pass going into the chicane. Wasn't able to do it just there on Daniel Benefield.
And a few 4GTs are going to be working their way through it now. That's Corey Davis. They were getting through, or passed rather, in turn 1. Looks like they're going to be held up behind Timothy Stoll going through the S's, so that's going to cost them some time. And here, back in the Radicals, it's still close between Russell Cow and Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly actually taking advantage of traffic and able to get by on the outside going into the Castiel hairpin, or the Castiel triangle, rather. So that's a great move there by Mike Kelly to take advantage of the faster traffic and make a pass for the lead.
Now we're back with Daniel Crony there. Now we've got Todd Carver up ahead in the 4GT. So let's see what they're able to do going. Well, I guess we'll see later. We'll imagine what happened going into the hairpin there.
Yeah, Russell Cow is now going to try and battle back for that first place in the Radicals after he lost it going through the 130R corner. And back now with the HPD battle. Still very close. They were able to get by Todd Carver without any issue. And basically the same distance apart as when we last looked at them.
Okay, let's see if we can do it again, because it looks like Daniel Corney's got close enough here, and he's getting a little bit of a run. So if you can time it properly going through the corner here, kind of hard to tell from this angle here. Looks like he's got a little bit better. And slingshot, no, not quite. Because these cars, they brake so well, you really have to have kind of at least part of your car along the inside before you even get to the braking zone to consider trying to outbrake someone into the chicane. Because they're going to be braking and turning at the same time. These HPDs really respond well to the trail braking, kind of turning in with a little bit of brake still on while you're slowing down to keep the front of the nose planted and get the most grip. And now we've got a reverse battle here with Russell Cow chasing down Mike Kelly.
And now we'll take a look at battle for 4th place in the HPD with Troy Harder and Jeremy Burris. Burris still trying to find a way through. Harder doing a nice job of holding him off so far, and he's been holding him off now for a good 10 minutes or so. And Troy Harder not giving in to the pressure that Jeremy Burris is definitely most applying. You can see he's been pretty much under that rear wing of Harder for the last 5 laps or so. So Harder doing a good job to hold on to that 4th position. Go back now to Mike Kelly and Russell Cow as Kelly trying his best to hold him off. Looks like Russell Cow's got a nice run heading down into turn 1 using a bit of the draft. Not able to put a move on, but I think it looks like we might be looking at from last season, like the battles we saw with these two drivers in the Daytona prototype.
And Jeremy Burris still working on Troy Harder here. This is a battle for 4th. Mike Kelly in 3rd position is about 6 seconds up the road for this battle here. So this is a good look at Burris. Good run through there, but he kind of lost his momentum just enough. He's not going to be able to make a run on Troy going into the chicane. Actually, I think it would take a very, very brave driver without any GT traffic to go through to try to make a pass into that chicane there.
Now this is a good example to see how the draft doesn't really affect these cars. Like Brian said earlier that Troy Harder makes a bit of a mistake, but Jeremy Burris can't really capitalize on that. Looked like he might have been able to try and stick his nose up there, but didn't want to push the issue, and he'll have to stay behind Troy Harder for a little bit longer yet as we go back to the Radical battle for 1st place. Russell Cow still trying to chase down the number 2 car of Mike Kelly.
This is a radical battle.
one of the few that we've had so far this season, I think.
That's true, unfortunately. But it's shaping up to be a good one for this race. Actually, tons of action here still. People running, just less than a second apart, and almost 40 minutes in.
Yeah, we did get a good turnout for this. Unfortunately, the Radicals didn't get a good turnout, but the HPD's a good turnout here. And so, like you say, some close racing all over the place. Corey Davis is about 0.3 behind Timothy Stoll for second in class. This is for fourth in the HPDs with Jeremy Burris right on the tail of Troy Harder. And now we've got Tim McLeish. It looks like someone's in the pit lane right now. James Mines, I believe, as Tim McLeish will go past him for 5th position. So Tim McLeish up to 5th position, I think.
Oh, yes. Also getting
you're absolutely correct.
Also getting a very rare look of Brian Carey's HPD there as he was heading down the front straight, because he's basically separated by 10 seconds between himself and James Cullen. And right now Mike Young in the pits, but there was about the same amount of distance between himself and Mike Young for third. So really having a race on his own right now. But these two guys definitely aren't having a race of their own. Jeremy Burris still trying his best to find a way around Troy Harder, not able to do it into turn 1. Troy Harder maintaining that outside line, getting the optimal cornering speed through turns 1 and 2, and holds on to that 4th position. Ooh, and looks like Mike Kelly was going very wide there, exiting the turn 11 hairpin. Didn't allow Russell Cow to take advantage, but he's still very, very close to the back of Mike Kelly's Radical.
Looking back from Gilles Moret there, it looks like that's Timothy Stoll there in the lead with, second place, Corey Davis. Now he's into the pits right now. This is a kind of interesting shot of the pit lane, what it would have looked like from behind. iRacing really does a good job with the pit lane structures and all the signage and whatnot that you'd see in real life there, so it's a good little bit of eye candy for everyone watching out there.
And here is Daniel Verness, who was leading early in the race and then had some sort of issue and fell quite a bit down the field. He's running in 3rd place right now, and he's getting by Mike Kelly, who is taking his first pit stop of the race. Now back to the close battle between Harder and Burris. Burris again poking his nose out a little bit, going down to 130R. Seeing if he can't rattle Troy Harder, but so far Harder's done a very good job of just maintaining his normal racing line and sticking in front of Jeremy Burris. You can see there's a bit of traffic there. They'll get by before turn 1, so that won't play an issue in their part in their battle. And
so not a clean race for either of them. Troy Harder with damage to both of his winglets. Burris with damage just to the left-hand one. Doesn't seem to be affecting their top speed very much, though, as they're definitely putting in competitive times.
Yeah, that might just be cosmetic, though. We've noticed some of the broadcasts, too, that cars have had those winglet damages for little to no reason sometimes. So don't know if those are actual damage or if that's just I don't know, sim damage.
Yeah, a lot of times, even if you have just a very light touch there on the that rear arrow that you see that back there, I think they it's basically the legality panel that they have running behind the wheels of these cars. So if another car were to run into the back, you don't, or you hope to avoid a contact with the rear wheels, and but basically, if you get a little bit of a very, very light touch there, can bend that little rear winglet, and so it could be phantom, like Brian said. It could be they had a little bit of touch at some point in time that caused it. So we really don't know, but doesn't seem to be, like Dan said, doesn't really seem to be affecting the car's performance at all, as they're running quite quickly here around Suzuka.
Now Jeremy's separated a little bit from Troy right now. Let's see if this, there's not much of a gap. It's still just over half a second, but let's see if this little bit of a gap can get Jeremy to get a good run on Troy, maybe going into turn 1.
Pit stops also will start playing a part here in the battle, as we're down to 1 hour and 18 minutes left in the race. These HPDs generally run about 50 minutes or so on a full tank of fuel, so we're getting close to the time when drivers will have to make a pit stop. And it definitely will be 2 stops for the HPDs as Jeremy Burris gets around John Kuzlin there in his Radical, which is good to help him stick as close as he can to the back of Troy Harder. And now we'll go back to a battle between Daniel Coroni and Daniel Benefield. This guy's got a little bit separated there. Oh, but Coroni actually almost having an opportunity to pass here as Benefield gets held up behind James Mines. Not able to do it. Oh, a bit of contact there between Benefield and Mines. Coroni getting a bit of not any contact, but he definitely got held up as he avoided the Ford GT of James Mines. And that was a very close call there for all three of those drivers. Looks like James Mines will be okay. Those Ford GTs are pretty tough. Daniel Coroni obviously coming away without any damage. We'll have to see what happens to Benefield and if he's received any damage from that.
That's the racing equivalent of like being in a truck and dropping some debris out behind you to shake off the guy tailing you.
Hey!
Go on board with Brian Carey as he must be passing, looks like leader James Cullen in the pit lane right now. So Carey going to come around, and as long as he completes one more lap, he'll gain a bonus point for leading a lap of this race.
And back with Daniel Coroni there. He's looks like Daniel Benefield's not any worse for wear in that contact there. Going around Tim McLeish, who's running very solid 5th in the Ford GT there.
You can see the cars topping out at roughly the same speed, but of course Tim McLeish having to brake for the turn.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing too, is a lot of these corners here, you entered, like, you know, the Ford GT has pretty similar top speed to the HPD, and their speed difference is somewhat gradual in the corners. I mean, it's significant enough, but that's one of them right there. Because of the downforce that HPD is carrying and the lack of downforce Ford GT is carrying, the speed difference is absolutely massive in 130R.
And now back with Jeremy Burris. He's still trying to see if he can't find a way around Troy Harder, although this battle has been elevated up to second place as we have the HPDs of James Cullen and Mike Young so far making pit stops in both of those, of course, are scheduled as this is a long race, so they're it's one of two that we'll see them making. That is a great camera shot.
And 45 minutes down here, it's been non-stop action for the, well, not quite first half of the race, but we're almost there.
Yeah, quite a bit of close racing for an endurance race. A lot of these guys really sticking very, very close together, and really that's what you like to see. These guys, endurance racing is more and more, especially in real life, as it is here in iRacing, becoming more of a 2-hour sprint or 3-hour sprint or however long the race is, as teams get more and more competitive, and these guys are very, very close in pace, and it's good to see these guys racing so close in a endurance race.
Oh, that was great.
Well, I don't know if you're talking about the same thing there, Dan, but I just noticed the crossover there. Another car.
That was exactly what I was going to mention, yes. First time I've seen a car going, that was Corey Davis going, just exiting under the bridge as these guys went over it.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't talk about again at the beginning of the broadcast there. I forgot about it. There's a figure 8 layout of this Suzuka circuit. You really get a chance to see the cars like cross over, and that was the first time I think we'd seen in all our time here. Another car cross underneath one of the other cars. I'll try to point out where on the track that's occurring.
And sitting on board with Jeremy Burris as he makes his pit stop, and he's going to be passed by a few cars. Looks like he also might lose a position to Ryan Huff, who has yet to make his first pit stop of the race.
Well, he got off jacks a long time ago. I expect he'll be out of... There we go. So he's marked as out, and let's see if where he gets marked out. Yeah, I don't know. Let's look at the standings. He is behind Ryan Huff.
Yep, 10th position. Anthony Muniz is now right on the tail of Troy Harder here, so this is a battle for, at the moment, second place, but he's going to have to wait for pit stops to shake out to see exactly what this battle is for, because the cars were all relatively close together. Troy Harder, Burris, Muniz. Muniz was only a few seconds behind those guys when Burris made his pit stop.
And a lap going on to Gilles right there.
There's Dan Grolte. Gilles right a lap down. Wow.
Wow, now that's interesting. I would have expected Nunez to go ahead of or beside.
Yeah, you couldn't really tell from that camera angle, but Gralty was a little bit further ahead than it looked like, and I didn't want to risk it, especially with so long left in the race.
Fair enough there. Strange position to see a Ford GT go around the outside of an HPD there, but there you have it. Daniel Benefield probably heading into the pits right now. There he is. Daniel Crony goes ahead of him right now, so let's see if Crony can put in some good laps and get up ahead of him right now.
Now Mike Young, who has already made his pit stop, is getting by. There he goes, up into 7th.
Mike Young was effectively 3rd position when he entered into the pit lane, so and he looked like he was quite a ways ahead of that battle for 4th position, so that should be where he shakes out. But he pitted pretty early and he had a light fuel tank, which means that he'll either take more fuel in this pit stop potentially, so that might not necessarily be the case. Now we're back with Corey Davis battling with Tim Stoll, and this is still the battle for 2nd position in Ford GT.
You saw that Davis had an opportunity to get by. He was able to get on the right hand, or the left hand side rather, coming out of the hairpin, but just couldn't quite get the power down, and Timothy Stoll was able to maintain that 2nd place position. Although these guys have stayed relatively close, there's now about just over 2.5 seconds separating 1st to 3rd place in the Ford GTs, but you can see Todd Carver, yep, is just taking 130R right now, so the Ford GTs have stayed fairly close, even with traffic coming through and all of that. You can see there's Troy Harder right now, trying to make his way through the GTs, and ooh, wow, that is really close between Harder and Timothy Stoll. Not sure if there's any contact there, but it was so close if there wasn't.
Especially because I expect Troy Harder will probably be entering the pits. Brian Carey, current race leader, is in the pits. Harder going by, but Anthony Nunez also entering the pits now.
And that's back to race leader, actually no, not race leader James Cullen, because Troy Harder is still out on the track.
So Brian Carey picking up a bonus point for leading a lap in the race. Right now we're watching Brent Briles, who it looks like he must be getting past Daniel Crony, who is taking a pit lane, or he's taking his pit stop. Also, myself also in the pit lane, so he's getting by a few guys who he still will have to make a pit stop at some point. So, and that's actually coming up pretty close here, I would assume. There's very close racing here between Gilles Moret and Jerry Morsdorf as they try to fight their way through the leaders of the Ford GTs. Very, very close racing there as they were making their way through the Dunlop curve. You can see there's 2nd place. Ooh, and that was, I believe that was Daniel Verness in the 33 Radical going off at the turn 9.
Hard to tell there, because some of the cars, it wasn't, it was Russell Cow right there. So
it was a turn 1 hero. It was a turn 1 hero,
yeah,
so
okay,
so, him.
Yeah, because Mike's is bright yellow, so I'd like to think that us here in the booth can tell the difference between a dark car and a bright yellow car.
That's unfortunate for Verness. He was running in 2nd place right now. I believe he's still needing to make a pit stop at some point because Mike Kelly already has, and he's running in 3rd. That's unfortunate. He caught too much of that curb exiting the 2nd Degner corner and ran right into the wall or the barrier there on the right-hand side. So that is probably going to be race-ending damage, I would assume.
James Cullen is getting held up bad behind these guys here.
Yeah, these guys are fighting for position, but you can see it is down the field right now, and these guys are a lap down. So this James Cullen trying to find a way by. Right now he's in 2nd place. Troy Harder still... actually, he's going to regain the 1st place position. And Troy Harder now in the pits. You can see it looks like Joe Moret pulls over to allow James Cullen to get by. But he did drop a bit of time there because he was held up behind the slower cars of the class. And we know the gap between himself and Brian Carey was about 10 seconds, a little bit more, I think, as they made their pit stops. Brian Carey now down by 7, just almost 8 seconds behind James Cullen. Oh, and Corey Davis
went wide and almost gave Corey Davis an opportunity, but he did not have it. Brian Carey now looked in the inside of Stoll, didn't quite have the chance because Stoll, fighting off Corey Davis, was not going to let anything by.
Felt really bad about that one because it looked like Corey had a good run on him, but otherwise it would have had to come to a complete stop there. So Still got to take those passes early on when you can.
And we'll ride on board our colleagues Daniel Corney's HPD, and he must be passing someone in the pits. Indeed, yeah, he's passing well, Ryan Huff, Brent Bryles, and Troy Harder. And Troy Harder losing quite a bit of time in the pit lane, so I wonder if he had some optional damage that he needed to have repaired. He's fallen down to 7th place, and everyone in front of him, we're riding on board with Daniel Benefield right now, and everyone in front of Troy Harder has made their pit stops, so Harder losing quite a bit of time in the pit lane.
Yeah, and as I don't know, a meta note here, I entered the pits a little bit behind Daniel Benefield, and have come out now with him about 5 seconds down.
Good job by the Kaiser Rennsport pit crew.
Indeed, yeah, both of, well, Brian Carey maintaining his 2nd place, but myself and Dan moving up a couple positions in the pit lane to 4th and 5th, so that's always good strategy by the team to when to pit. And Timothy Stoll under pressure from Corey Davis right now. This is for 2nd place in the 4GTs. Both of these guys have now fallen close to about 4 seconds behind Todd Carver, so I'm not sure if they were losing time because of traffic coming through, or if they've just fallen off the pace that Todd is able to run. But right now, bit of a gap opening between the 4GTs now, so losing touch with the overall race leader. Ooh, but Corey Davis has not lost touch with Timothy Stoll, as he is all over the back of his 4GT trying to find a way to get around.
So remember what we said earlier in the broadcast, some of these guys on the 4GT are trying to make it on one stop here, so these guys are going to try to stretch it to the 1 hour mark at least, hopefully to try to get to that point in the race where they can only pit and make it to the end. So it's going to be tight, so these guys will be battling hard but saving fuel at the same time, so look out for that. And John Kelly is coming back up. He's unfortunately had a few incidents in the HPD there, and he's trying to work his way back up through the field, not pushing this battle too hard. Oh, little nudge there by Corey Davis into the back Tim Stoll. No damage done, and they'll let John Kelly go by there.
Yeah, John Kelly unfortunately fallen down to 13th place in the HPD, so he's a bit behind these guys right here. You can see Jerry Morsdorf there in the number 42, and he is, yeah, it looks like he's on the same lap as Lance Snyder, so this is almost a 3-way battle here. Jill Moret a bit further back and not really contending for the 11th spot that Morsdorf currently holds, but Morsdorf looking to see if he can't find a way around Lance Snyder. He's gained a bit of time on Snyder in the last couple laps, so let's see if he has a faster race pace than Lance does, and if he can't find a way past him. And now go back to Corey Davis as he still continues to follow Timothy Stoll, heading over the timing line one more time, close to the hour mark that the guys are looking for one stop. Ooh, and Corey Davis going very wide through turns 1 and 2, losing a bit of time there on Timothy Stoll as they head down into the S section of the circuit. And now back to the battle between Lance Snyder and Jerry Morsdorf. This is for a top 10 position in the LMP class, so these guys are going to be looking to see if they can't get into the top 10. Or Jerry Morsdorf and Jules Moret as well, also looking to see if they can't get a top 10 spot.
Things have settled down a little bit. We're not seeing quite the intense action all over the track like we were, but still enough to go around right now, as we are now watching the battle for 2nd place still in the 4GTs as some of the LMP traffic is coming through.
And Corey Davis closing the gap that had developed between himself and Stoll after he went wide going through turns 1 and 2 on the circuit. So looks like Corey Davis does have pace over Timothy Stoll, but as we've seen before, Tim Stoll is a very solid driver and very difficult to pass at times, so he's holding on. Ooh, gets a little bit sideways there going through the second part of Spoon Corner, and still manages to hold on to the position. Corey Davis couldn't quite get on the corner of his car and make a move, but Again, still very close racing.
And they're coming up to make a lap on Stephen Clark, who lets them by, no problem.
So let's see. They only go past the pits right here, so we'll see if they can make it around here, because the lap times will take them pretty much right to halfway. So if they pit it now, by the time they come into the pits, there'll be less than an hour left. So if they can make it to the end of this next lap here, then they should be able to make it to the end of the race by making it to the end of this lap.
And Todd Carver still leading the 4GT class, of course, has now opened up about 4.5 seconds over these two drivers. And we've seen them make a few mistakes here in the last few laps, so I'm sure that is having an effect over the overall distance between there. And see, looks like Timothy Stoll having a little bit of trouble there with his line, getting a little bit too wide, exiting the S sections as they head into Dunlap Curve. Couldn't quite get the run he needed, but still able to hold on to that second place position.
Yeah, it can be really tempting to take a lot of speed out of that corner, but the important thing to set up to that next turn for the next corner in order to get that run down the straightish section. There's nothing really that straight except for the front straight on this track. Well, and the back after spoon.
Even then, it seems like the track is always doing something for you there. I mean, it's up, it's down. They're crossing over other parts of the track on the straight bits because that's how it happens there, and it's honestly one of my, aside from the, oh no, they've got together. Well, looks like Tim is able to continue on. No problem there. Hopefully everyone's alright, and it's going to lose him some time to Todd Carver, but it looks like their battle is consistent. I don't think any damage was done between the two of them there, hopefully.
Now, you saw, I snuck by there. It didn't look like it on the shot here from the television, but that was a serious butt-clenching moment as I saw them sliding sideways, and I had to brake and go to the inside.
Yeah, always in a 2-hour multi-class race, you'll have a few of those butt-clenching moments, and for Dan Crony there, that was obviously one of them.
And we ride on board with Joe Moret, and he is caught. The number 42 of Jerry Morsdorf for 11th position. Looks like Lance Slander has been able to open up a fairly sizable gap between himself and Morsdorf. So Morsdorf now looking to hold on to 11th spot as Jill Moret tries his best to challenge. It looks like I believe that might be Brian Carey in front. So that is those cars, of course, are not racing him. Brian Carey on a different lap, and probably can't see Lance Slander from the current view. Jump back to the nose of Corey Davis as the battle between himself and Timothy Stoll resumes for second place in the class.
Yep, we've just gone past the halfway point there. So we've got an hour down, just over an hour down, I should say. Just under an hour to go.
Yeah, and if this were football, you'd have to go, oh no, I was going to make a joke, but Corey Davis back into the back of Tim Stoll, really hating that car of Tim Stoll, I guess.
No, I think Tim's running out of gas right there. Like I mentioned, he pushed that car one lap too long. Had he pitted at the end of this lap, I think it would have been able to make it to the end of the race, no problem. But unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to make it.
Yeah, it's a very long way to get back to the pit lane from his where he is right now. You can see he is very, very slow, so I doubt he's going to be able to make it back.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's race over for Tim Stoll. I mean, he's not going to be able to make it back to the pits from there. That is really unfortunate. He was running really well, and like I say, had he pitted at the end of that last lap, I think that would have done enough to get him to the end of the race. But
so it looks like the cars of Todd Carver, Corey Davis, and now Daniel Gralty, none of them have pitted yet, so they obviously seem to be getting better fuel mileage than Timothy Stoll was throughout the race. And we'll wait and see. Right now they've gone over an hour so far, and we'll see how long they go. Well, Todd Carver now into the pit lane, so he was the first of the... Yeah, you can see still out on the circuit, so I'm not sure if what he's hoping to accomplish there, but maybe one of the lapped cars will give him a push or something to the pit lane.
Davis now also in the pits, so it looks like it's, yep, and Daniel Gralty, so it's time for the Ford GTs to pit. Unfortunately, Stoll just not able to get the fuel consumption down the way the other guys did, and Well, I think he's still out on track, but that is unfortunate for him.
And on board with Gilles Moret, as he is still looking to battle with Jerry Morsdorf for 11th position. Can just... Oh, actually, you can't just catch Lance Snyder. Oh, yes, you can. There he is. I was looking at the gaps, and the gap was showing a bit something a little bit different. But Lance Snyder is still in the battle with them, just quite a bit in front. See, ooh, Gilles Moret just sneaking by on the inside there of Jerry Morsdorf as he goes wide going through turn 2. I think he might have went wide just because of reacting to the move that Moret put on him. That was a pretty slick move, though. He was able to just get his nose on the inside there going into turn 2 and made it stick. Didn't run wide, so if Morsdorf had maintained his line, he wouldn't have run into him. So that was a nice pass there. It also allowed Mike Young, who is to lap these guys. He's running in 3rd place right now.
Actually, it looks like Tim Stoll has made it back to the pits, so I think once he realized he was running out...
I think he escaped out, yeah.
I haven't seen the exit yet. It's possible he realized he was running out and tried to trickle it back home. I mean, you can run pretty long on a... without using very much fuel, but you'll be going pretty dead slow, so don't remember how that ended up. We'll know shortly.
No, he did escape out because I think I just ran past him as he escaped out, so...
Gotcha.
And we've got a battle in the HPDs now starting to develop. Qualroni running in 5th place at the moment, and we were well, this is a pretty good shot to look at the man that he's trying to hold off.
It was a good shot.
It was, yeah, it was. It's Daniel Benefield, and he's managed to close the gap up between himself and Qualroni that had grown after their first pit stops had started, which was quite a while ago now. So both of those guys having fairly consistent middle stints, and now that's quickly becoming a battle. Benefield's just about a second off of Qualroni at the moment, and you can see the battle between Gilles Moret and Jerry Morsdorf is also closing back up, and Morsdorf is going to be looking to get back around Moret for that 11th spot.
It's good to get a close-up at the Whoop-Ass Racing number 42 there of Jerry Morsdorf, a very nicely painted car. Like we talked about before in previous seasons, we got a lot of interesting paint schemes there. I think Daniel Benefield is just basically running the Fault iRacing paints right now, but still not a bad color scheme, that being said. Yeah, we haven't talked about that as much this season, but I will next time we see a few of the newer paint schemes that we've been seeing this year. And just so I'm very happy that Turn 1 hero is a change theirs from that spa entry that they had. Kind of made me want to barf.
Yeah, I think everyone shares in the we can call it an overjoy feeling that everyone has after getting rid of that one. But the battle between Qualroni and Benefield is now pretty much closed up, and Benefield right back on the back of Qualroni as they head through and down now towards the Dunlop curve. You can see there's a Ford GT. I believe that was Daniel Gralty. Indeed it is. So it looks like Qualroni going to be able to get by. Let's see if, yep, he does. Benefield is able to sneak his way through there going down into the Degner section of the circuit. So it manages to stick pretty close with Qualroni heading down towards the hairpin. This is a pretty close battle, and one of the few close ones that we have still on circuit. There are guys that are somewhat close, but this is by far the closest that we have so far, or right now.
Cool. Trying to find something myself interesting to say right now, but we have about 53 minutes left. I'm trying to save my best material for the end of the race. Don't really have any material, but like I say, there's still 53 minutes left of racing. A lot of things have settled down a little bit. Like I said, it's a pretty good battle here, but otherwise, I mean, there's one more pit stop basically for the HPDs and for the Radicals, I believe, and then we'll see what happens. Oh, now we got Gilles Moret right up in the back of Lance Snyder here, so let's see something that can happen here.
Yeah, another very close battle. Looks like Lance might have gotten held up behind Tim McLeish going through the S section of the circuit, and if you really, oh man, he's he's got Moret right on the back of his car. If you don't really try and force your way through, oh, he's going to try and move on the inside going into the hairpin. Wow, that was a great passing maneuver there by Moret. Looks like, yep, he's able to hold on to it. Didn't get any oversteer coming out of the hairpin. That was a great passing opportunity that he took advantage of there. That looked like something we saw Perez do at the Formula One race here. The movie put on Hamilton going into that corner in the last Formula One season. That was a good maneuver there by Gilles Moret to take 10th spot. So he has a top 10 spot in the LMP field now.
Alright, so we're heading into the hairpin here. Let's see if we can stay with this scale. Looks like we're going to stay with this battle for a little bit here, so I'll follow you along the track here. Now we're doing the big sweep down to Spoon Corner. I think it's actually a corner name. I think it's like 230R or something like that. 200 basically the radius of the corner, much like 130R, but not nearly as severe. First part of Spoon there, second part of Spoon. The first part of Spoon, you have to break down a couple gears. Second part of Spoon, down another gear after that, and really just let the car roll through because the track's going to drop away down the hill as you come down the hill here, and then back up the hill towards 130R. Now, as you approach 130R, this is going to be flat out in the HPD, so you don't have to worry about much here, but you can see some lap traffic up ahead, so Dan Crony and Daniel Benefield have to time that right. Looks like they've done it both perfectly. Going through there, down into the Casio Triangle chicane. Dan Crony getting a little late in the brakes there, which is going to allow Benefield to get a good run going into turn 1. So look for some action here as we're coming down to the final corner here, down into turn 1. Now we'll see if Crony does decide to defend. Yep, he defends a little bit, not a lot, and Benefield's going to go to the inside. Is he going to hold the position? Crony goes wide, and it looks like Benefield does have the position. Now that's going to be, that was a pretty slick move there, taking advantage of I mean, that just really started by Dan Crony missed the apex of the entry to the chicane by maybe a car width, and that's a result right there as a pass attempt, and successful pass attempt, I should say. Now we're up the hill of Dunlop. This is a Dunlop corner here. Little light lift of the gas for Crony, but it's flat out most of the rest of the way through. On board the nose here. Now the first part of Degner is a quick shift down, hard over the corner here. Now a couple more gears down, a sharper part of Degner 2. On the inside it looks like Kuzlin there. It looks like he might have a run going down the hairpin. Now here you got to spot your braking very carefully. You turn, and as soon as you're out of the corner, you brake. He's down the inside, and oh, it looks like he might have taken the position. He has. That is fantastic right there. This is great that I decided to fall around, describe the track as this was going on. Yeah, so down to the hairpin there. Now we're back to the part that I initially started talking about the track here, heading towards Spoon Corner there. So you can see the on board here. He's going to brake. Hit the inside here, curb. He's going to run really wide there. I don't know if Benefield's going to be able to take advantage of that, but yeah, the idea is there is you try to get a good run off the second part. It looks like Crony did do that. He ran wide, but the important part is Spoon 2. Now let's see if falling behind them here, if Crony's able to enter the chicane a little bit better as he goes through. Both flat out here. Spot your braking on the left-hand side there, right there. Hard on the brakes, down to first gear, through the chicane. Both hitting it very, very well, accelerating up out of the last chicane onto the front straightaway. And I'm tired now.
And that was a nice little battle that we saw here between Crony and Benefield going through the basically trading positions in one lap, and Crony back in front, Benefield for 5th place. And that was a nice, fun little battle to watch them. And now they're going to head through. Looks like there's going to be a bit of traffic here. Looks like Stephen Clark and his Ford GT is going to come up and present an obstacle. Crony able to sneak by on the left side. Ooh, and Benefield going to try and go around on the opposite side. So that is something you don't see happen all that often. That was a excellent driving there by Stephen Clark to maintain his line and allow, well, first Crony to go through on the left side, which is that's a little bit more of a known passing line, and then continue to hold his line so Benefield could go around the opposite side. And so props to Stephen Clark for maintaining that and allowing no contact there. We'll go to the battle now between Gilles Moret and Lance Snyder. Snyder having, looks like he's caught back up a little bit to Gilles Moret. Oh, and Moret having an issue in the Casio chicane. That allows Lance Snyder to close right onto the rear of his car, although it looks like he had to slow down a little bit exiting the corner as well to not run into the back of his Moret's car possibly. So he looks like he's lost most of the run that he was going to have over Moret heading down into turn 1. Not going to be able to make a passing attempt but he's definitely closed the gap, and now he can challenge for that 10th spot again.
All right, just to let everyone know, I'm just going to take a quick break here, grab something to drink, because in my commentary booth here, or at my location, I don't quite have a servery type area where I can get food and drinks that easily, so I'll be back in literally about 1 minute.
Well, we do have a pretty good couple battles, especially in the HPD, to watch while Brian's gone. We'll ride on board the cockpit of Daniel Benefield's number 69 HPD. Looks like 4GT of Tim McLeish. Again, they're going to catch in the curvy section of the circuit, but they get by in turn 3, so not really playing a factor there. Kwoni's still leading Benefield in 5th place. A little bit wide there going out of the turn 6, the end of the SS section, but gets a nice run going into the Dunlop curve and maintains his gap between himself and Benefield as they head down towards Degner. Looks like there's a good amount of open track in front of them, so not really... Oh, Kwani catches too much curve and into the wall. Oh, and a little bit of a physics glitch there, jumping the car over. And that is so unfortunate. I think he might have, caught too much curb exiting Degner 2 and into the wall. That is so unfortunate. He was running so well in 5th place, and that's really too bad.
That is, I'm going to miss him, I'll be honest.
This also, because of that, is the last broadcast we will be doing, unfortunately, because neither Brian and I have the computers to do it.
Actually, I don't know how to leave the Matrix now. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to... I think Anthony and I are stuck here for the rest of our lives.
We're stuck commentating on this one.
What? I just heard something.
Yeah, well, actually, I just noticed I forgot to press record. Can we go back and do this over again?
Yeah, well, I hate to say it, Dan, but I'm pretty sure everyone saw that.
I'm joking. Yes, sorry. Yeah, I was actually, I had so much fun this race, I was just bummed out that I wasn't going to have more of that close racing, because this was easily the best race of the season, most fun.
Well, go ahead, Brian. I saw you were about to talk, so go ahead.
Oh, no, don't worry about it.
I was just going to say, it looked like yourself and the other Daniel that races with us in the HPD Benenfield were quite equal in overall race pace, so I was actually really looking forward to seeing how that battle was going to play out. So yeah, that is very unfortunate to see you go out with about 45 minutes left in the race, and really not a whole lot of other battles going on right now in the race. We've got one right here with Lance Snyder and Jill Moret. This is for 10th place in the class, but other than that, a lot of gaps have opened up, and as they tend to do with endurance racing. In the Radicals, Mike Kelly currently leading Russell Cow, and there's about 4.5 seconds separating them, so that could become a battle at some point in time. But also important to note that Mike Kelly is currently leading that. I think, remember that he pitted a bit earlier than the rest of the Radicals did and fell down to 3rd place, but I guess through pit stops he was able to maintain that 1st place position and put a sizable gap between himself and Russell Cowell in 2nd, so well done there. Meanwhile, Todd Carver in the 4GTs has over 8 seconds over Corey Davis in 2nd place, and then a further 15 seconds back of Davis is Daniel Gralty in 3rd place, so he's having a strong race, but really not very close at all in that class. Tim McLeish also outrunning, and looks like Stephen Clark, we know, is still outrunning as well. So, but the rest of the guys have unfortunately retired their cars, so not a whole lot of cars running in the race in the 4GT or the Radical, but a healthy amount of HPDs are still on circuit, which is good to see. Riding on board with Lance Snyder right now, he's currently being shown in 10th, and they were able to get by, who was it? Someone. Move them up another position, but he's still battling with Jules Moret. Oh yes, that would be right. Yep. Unfortunately, once Dan had to retire, that would be the position they move up. So they're now fighting for 9th place in the HPD, and there's about close to a 1.5 seconds separating them right now.
Yeah, I think what translation, what Anthony was saying earlier, he's super annoyed that you crashed because now we're going to have 45 minutes left and nothing to watch.
Yes, you could say that.
Although we have just shown that it looks like there's still plenty of action out there on the track. As you see, Lance Snyder fly by Dan Gralty at about Mach 2.3. Actually doing some research here on, as we're watching Lance Snyder, some research on Iron Maiden here, just for our metal fans out there. One thing I'm just liking was pretty cool is that starting in 2007 they actually commissioned a 757 with the Iron Maiden graphics and an awesome tail on it to start with their Somewhere Back in Time World Tour in 2008. Also used again for the Final Frontier World Tour in 2011, and they called the plane Ed Force 1.
Nice.
Which is a competition on the band's website. It is a sweet looking machine.
It's also pretty cool to have your personal jet be, what was it, a 747? That's pretty cool.
757.
Oh, 757. Oh, even better. Very cool.
747, you have bigger parties, but it's a little excessive. The plane does look pretty cool, as does Lance's car, as we will mention again. And again, to Lance, thanks again for posting that video, because that is it was like an hour, 40 minutes long, and it was just fantastic. I can't remember I didn't get through all of it, but I just had a plan while I was doing some other stuff on the computer, and it was a good way to keep the energy up. If anyone needs a little bit of boost, some people use Red Bull, some people do whatever. Listen to some Iron Maiden, that'll do it for most people.
Oh, and with the battle back on the circuit, Jill Murat getting a bit held up there by the 4GT of Stephen Clark. Although Lance Snyder not going to take advantage of that, he pulls into the pits for what will be his final scheduled pit stop of this race. You can see that allows Jerry Morsdorf to pass. Of course, he'll most likely lose another position once he makes his final pit stop. But so Lance Snyder is one of the first to make his final pit stop in the race. And now, since we have no one to watch that's battling closely, we'll default to James Cullen, who currently has close to a 17-second lead over second place Brian Carey, who has a further 16 seconds over third place Mike Young.
I was so lonely this race. There's no one to race at all. It was the same for James.
Yeah, so far this race, the top three have basically been able to get away and just maintain a consistent racing pace so far, and not really have had to battle anyone, except with the slower cars. So they've pretty much just been running as consistently as possible and hope to not make any mistakes, which so far they've done a very good job of doing. Here's the Radical of Russell Cow. So it looks like he's caught up enough, so our Cyborg director decides to focus on him. And he is just under 3 seconds behind Mike Kelly. So this is could become a battle between Kelly and Cow for first place in the Radicals. I believe Russell Cow has made up about a second and a half or so on Mike Kelly in the last 10 minutes or so. You can see his yellow Turn 1 Heroes Radical just up in the picture there, so the gap is coming down. We'll have to see if Russell Cow has overall better pace and is able to catch up to Mike Kelly.
And then back to Jerry Morsdorf there. It looks like he'll be passing someone. Jill Brent's in the pits.
Yep, that's who it is.
I really do like looking at there's Corey Davis's Kaiser Rennsport 4GT in the background there. It's a very, very slick looking machine. I mean, the 4GTs, I don't have as much fun driving them. I do enjoy driving them a little bit, but I mean, they are good looking cars. Same thing with McLaren too, which hopefully will be running next year in the GTC.
Yeah, I think that car has a lot of potential to produce some very, very good racing. So right now it is tentatively in the schedule for... Ooh, Russell Cow getting very out of shape going through the Casio Triangle. But maintains his composure, gets back on the throttle, and continues to try his best to chase down Mike Kelly. But yeah, just getting back to the point, right now the McLaren MP4-12C GT3 car is scheduled to be on the I guess the roster. The lineup. Yeah, that's a good way to put it for next season. So hopefully we'll see some good racing in that car, and a bit of a debate between what else is going to be in there. So if you are a member right now, or if you are looking to sign up and join us racing next season, and want some input on what cars you think should be in the GTC next season, head on over to the forums, which is israleague.com/forum. And go ahead, sign up if you haven't already, and give us some feedback on what you'd like to see in the GTC next season. As really, with we're down to about 3 weeks left, so it's getting close to the season 10, which is just to get to 10 seasons in a private racing league is quite phenomenal. As I lost my tongue there, as Russell Cow kind of has really closed the gap between himself and Mike Kelly now. That gap down to about just over 1 second, now 1 second. So very, very close racing here in the Radicals for the lead of the class.
Yeah, it's coming to nice. I think they each have one pit stop left, so we'll see how it shakes out after the pit stop. But it's good to see a lead of a race come down like that, considering there's not a huge turnout for those Radicals, unfortunately. Both Daniel Verness and Chuck Chamblos are out of the race. Carl Mumbauer is unfortunately a lap down in fourth. John Kuzlin's about 50 seconds behind this battle right now, so in fact, you've got a pretty big track here in Suzuka, nearly 4 kilometers long, I think 3.6 kilometers long, and get 2 Radicals on the same piece of track is pretty nice. And there's James Cullen there in the leading HPD. Just plugging along like he does there in the lead, putting the laps through.
And now back to the battle for the lead in the Radicals. Under a second now between Cow and Kelly. So I think I saw, might have been Brian Carey's HPD not too far behind, so that could play a bit of a factor. Oh, also looks like that is a Whoop-Boss Racing, and also John Kelly behind. I'm not sure which, is that Jerry Morsdorf or Brent Browse? I can't quite tell, unfortunately, which.
Yeah, they painted theirs way too similar this season.
Yeah, they're very, very close. I don't even think their mirrors are different, and maybe they are, and I just haven't noticed. But
I think that's Brent, because I think it's yellow.
And yeah, unfortunately can't even see. Let's see if we can catch the number. Yeah, it is Brent. It's the yep. So few HPDs going to break up this battle. You can see it looks like John Kelly also gets by, and that is Brian Carey just behind. And Carey not really going to disrupt the battle at all. He'll get by as they head down towards Spoon, so that's really not going to play a factor. But Russell Kell losing a bit of time as Brent Briles and John Kelly made their way through.
I need to find a way to get some more screen time going on here. It's no good just be driving there by yourself, middle of the pack.
I think this is making up for the all the time that we had at Mid Ohio earlier this season.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, deep in the brakes there for Russell Kelly. He gained up a whole heap of time there on Mike Kelly. That was, you can just hear by the way his car was downshifting there. Oh, Mike Kelly into the pits. So let's see. When Mike Kelly went into the pits, remember guys, he was less than a second ahead of Russell Cow. So when they come out of their pits, let's see how that finishes out.
And now defaulting back to the overall race leader, James Cullen. Still has just over about 16.5 seconds over Brian Carey at the moment. Mike Young, however, running in third place, is in the pit lane. So we'll have to see. He was he had a decent gap on either side of him, so I'm not sure. We'll have to watch where he comes out after pit stop cycle through. I imagine he comes back out in third place. Everyone else in the HPD has pretty much spread out. Jules Moret has fallen 13 seconds back from Lance Snyder, so I'm not sure what happened there, but their battle is no longer happening. And then everywhere else is, I guess the closest would be Todd Carver and Corey Davis, but again, they're separated by close to 10 seconds, about 9.5. You can see actually Corey Davis on screen right now as James Cullen is catching up to put another lap on him.
Good driving by both guys right there. Using a lot of curb going through chicane there. That's one thing too is, talk about before in previous broadcasts how iRacing changes their physics, updates, makes, you know, refinements, whatnot. Because it's an ongoing process to try to get the most out of this simulation here. And it wasn't as recently as probably about a year ago, if not a little bit more, where touching the curbs in one of these cars, and even on the new tires, would cause the car to be upset quite greatly. I'm not sure how that came about, whether it was the way the camber of the tire was calculated or whatnot, but it's really good to see to be able to cars attack the curbs in much the same way as you would be able to in real life.
And since we have a bit of a lull in all of the action on the circuit, I think it would be a good time to thank our title sponsor, the Z1 Sim Wheel, their website being z1simwheel.com, where, as we always mention at the beginning of the broadcast, their main thing they offer is this very nice LCD display, which emulates all of the dashboards that you would find inside the cars in iRacing, and I think it also works with a few other different simulations as well. But of course, the main thing that you would probably want to use it for is iRacing. They do have, I believe, telemetry and pit options that you can also use on the touchscreen. Also, if you'd like, you can just buy the software that their display runs, and if you have a USB monitor or something, or a fourth monitor, a second monitor, anything like that you'd like to run it on, the software is the way to go for that. They also have very, very nice, I guess they would be add-on wheels or aftermarket wheels for the G25 or G27, and those are very, very nice if you are looking to make an upgrade on your racing wheel. They come in two different styles. One would be the, I believe they call it the Endurance or prototype wheel, which is something like you would find on maybe the Audi R18, which has a screen integrated into the wheel, which is basically their LCD display, which they integrate into the wheel, which is very, very nice. They also have some buttons and rotary encoders on that wheel as well. And also the other wheel they offer is the Formula 1 style wheel that has the SLI Pro integrated into the top, so it looks basically just like an F1 wheel. So go ahead and check out z1simwheel.com for all of those different products and software that you can run to help to I guess it would be improve your overall, not driving, I guess immersion in the driving sim that is iRacing, or the other software that it does work for. A bit of oversteer there for James Cullen. So you can see that he still is pushing his car. He's not slacking off and just cruising along, completing laps. Half an hour to go, and he has a decent gap over himself and Brian Carey, who is currently in the pit lane, but he's still pushing that car quite hard. And with half an hour to go, he doesn't have a whole lot longer. He needs to hold on to that first place to take what would be, his sixth win, seventh win this season? Fifth? Okay.
This is a sixth race, so I was able to beat him once.
Ah, yes. Yep.
Thanks to a certain white radical there.
Yeah, James
watching after the pits here. Sorry, go ahead, Anthony. Oh,
no, I was just going to point out James did have a series of unfortunate events in that race at Sonoma. Ooh, and just sliding the car, getting to trying to slow down enough to not get a speeding penalty there, and was lucky to keep it off that barrier there and not cause any damage to that car. But yeah, unfortunate for James Cullen back at Sonoma, but it did work out for our colleague Brian Carey, and was able to take a win in the HPD, which, considering the pace that Cullen has had so far this season, is quite a feat, despite the incidents that Cullen did get involved in that race.
Yeah, it was my first GTC win since Brands Hatch in Season 6, I believe.
Which I believe we do have a broadcast of, so go ahead and watch that to reminisce in some of the older races that we've covered.
Easily back out into the lead for James right there.
We'll wait for our telemetry or our timing and scoring to stabilize a little bit, but it looks like he's come out in front of Brian Carey by about 9 seconds or so. Ooh, that actually, yeah, it's about 9 seconds, I think, once the gaps finally stabilized. Right at first it said about 1 minute and 9 seconds, so I expect that to come down.
About 23 seconds. And there's Troy Harder. That's going to be passing Daniel Benefield in the pit lane. Maybe. We'll see.
No, it looks like he gets out just a bit in front of Troy Harder. I thought I caught a glimpse of that red HPD out in front of Mike Kelly's Radicals. So Troy Harder still looking to see. He's actually fallen quite a bit down the field now. Remember, we saw him up as high as third at one point, and then spent most of his first stint in second. You can see, yep, that's Troy Harder's HPD up there. So he's fallen down to fifth with, or he's moved back up to fifth with the help of pit stops right now. So that is going to have to cycle through. He still needs to make his final stop. So we'll see how that plays out.
There's James coming up behind Corey Davis here. Easily go around the outside of him here and final corner there. Looks like there's Troy Harder again. And
the gap to him to Daniel Benefield is just over 3 seconds at the moment, so that could... Oh, both of those guys have... No, they haven't made their pit stops. My mistake. They haven't. They need to... Well... Now, didn't we just see Benefield coming out of the pits?
No, I think I was my mistake there because he was trying to catch him up there. I think he might have passed like Brent Briles or someone was in the pits. I wasn't really paying attention. Maybe we just decided to show Troy Harder because we hadn't seen Troy a bit.
That's true, and the gap between himself and Benefield is coming down a little bit. Now it's about 3 seconds, and you can just see Benefield up in front or at the edge of some of these shots. There he is. So I believe both of these drivers do have to make pit stops still with just over 25 minutes left in this race, but there's only about 3 seconds separating them, so this could be a good battle for what effectively will turn into 4th place, I believe.
So once that all cycles through, we'll get to figuring out where everyone is. Russell Cow still well ahead of Mike Kelly, but Russell Cow has now made his final pit stop in the Radicals. Todd Carver and Corey Davis both making their final pit stops already, and Corey Davis about 7 seconds behind him. So those are the main battles for the lead right now.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see as we know that the 4GTs are most likely on a they definitely are on a one-stop strategy. Hopefully, both of those 3 drivers that are looking to take a victory right now. Corey Davis is the closest one to challenging Todd Carver, but Gralty is, well, he's not out of contention, but with the race winding down, it's looking more and more like he will be. But it'll be interesting to see if they get the fuel consumption they need. Both of the Todd Carver, Corey Davis, and Daniel Gralty all pitted with just under or just over halfway. So as long as they basically, replicate what they did in the first half of the race, they should make it. But you never know. So that could play out in some way at the final stages of the race. And now Daniel Benefield heads into the pit lane to make what should be his final pit stop.
Seems so slow, doesn't it? Flying around the track like crazy, and you come here at 60 kilometers an hour.
Yep, this and Spa are both 60 kilometers an hour, and that is a bit slower than some of the other circuits that we run. I know a lot of the ones in North America are a bit higher than 60, so it does seem quite slow when you're coming to make your pit stop and you've been running around the circuit at 200 plus kilometers an hour for most of the time.
Yeah, at least not nearly as long as Spa, so at least he gets out ahead of Gilles Moret. I think he was a lap ahead of him anyway. There's John Kelly, kind of working his damaged HPD around the track. Left side looking a touch squished, but not too bad.
And John Kelly is actually, looks like he's on the same lap as Joe Moret, so this is a battle for position. Would be a 11th spot in the HPD, and there's about a second and a half separating these two drivers right now, so this is a battle for position. Oh yeah, and you can actually, that's a good shot of the damage right there. It looks like on the left rear tire wall, or that you'd have right there. Yeah, it looks like he had some sort of contact right there. So I'm not exactly sure how that's affecting his performance. He's lucky that he didn't break the suspension there. So looks to be running fairly consistently, and he's not really losing a whole lot of time on Jules Moret. Well, actually he is. He's dropped to about 3 seconds. So I guess we'll see how that plays out, and if that's just he got through a corner a little poorly, and hopefully he can make that up.
He is doing a pretty good job with that right now. I mean, he's sitting in 12th position right now. He's just, you know, well, he's 1.8 seconds behind Gilles Moret. But considering the trouble I know he had earlier in the race, a few offs there, he's holding on to that pretty well.
And you can see the number 42, Jerry Morsdorf, is just in front of these guys as well, and they are all on the same lap. So this is a all of those guys would be battling for positions right now. There's not a whole lot of battling going on, of course, but they are all fighting for what effectively is a top 10 spot, which Morsdorf is currently holding at the moment. And a bit of traffic there playing a part in the battle between Morsdorf and Kelly. That's Stephen Clark. He's still out running laps. Ooh, and that's Daniel Benefield spinning it coming out of the hairpin, and that is not really going to affect the drivers we're watching right now, but it is going to affect the battle that he was looking to have with Troy Harder. Troy Harder was catching him coming as they were coming up on their final pit stops, and that's going to drop him quite a bit of time, and I'm going to guess that once Troy Harder makes his final pit stop, that will means that he'll be in front, and that should be a 4th place that Harder will have once he makes his pit stop.
I'm really impressed that Troy Harder's gone this long without making that pit stop. Just under 20 minutes left, and he's still out there on the track.
And John Kelly gets a nice run coming out of the final chicane, and it looks like he's going to be alongside Gilles Moret going into turn 1 to see if he can make the pass. He gets easily around Moret for the pass as they head into turn 1, and that moves him up into 11th position. Well done. And now he's going to set his sights on Jerry Morsdorf, who is just in front. You can see that red and black HPD, which is not too far up the road.
Oh, yeah, it looks like Russell Cow has made his pit stop in the Radical and is about 6 seconds ahead of Mike Kelly, so that looks, so far, looks pretty stable right there. Gap between Corey Davis and Todd Carver, somewhere between 7 and 8 seconds. It kind of fluctuates a little bit. Yeah, well, let's see here. We got 18 minutes left, just about 18 minutes left. Looks like almost all the pit stops are done. We're still waiting on Troy Harder there. I don't think he can make it into the race from here, so we're expecting him in the pits at some point. But we'll just stick along with John Kelly to see if he can do anything about Jerry Morsdorf up ahead here.
Yeah, that gap has come down quite a bit, and it's come down fairly quickly as well. Only a couple laps have passed, and you can see the three drivers are quite a bit closer to each other now than they were a few laps ago. And you can see there's the radical of Mike Kelly just in front, so it's going to hold them up even more. And that brings them pretty much nose to tail now as they head into the S section. You can see it looks like Mike Kelly gets well off the throttle there to allow those three guys to get through. But of course, I'm sure he doesn't want to do that too much because he is still trying his best to catch back up to Russell Cow. Currently about 5.5 seconds up the road.
Yeah, the thing with that there though is he's going to have to give up a little bit of time with these guys through. Because I mean, as much as you'd want to hold your line there, you don't want to be sticking your nose in front of HPDs. Three of them, because I mean that's just not good for either one of them. But knowing also too, oh no, that's okay. Well, there's more damage. That's unfortunate. Gilmar got into the back of John Kelly there. I'm not sure exactly what happened.
And that's Benefield going off the circuit there as well.
So he was able to hold on, but that was unfortunate for John Kelly. He had moved quite a bit up and making up some places there.
And it looked like some fairly heavy damage on the front of Moret's car as well. So I'm not sure. We'll have to see if he's able to continue on. Looks like John Kelly might not be quite as damaged. Hopefully, there was no suspension damage or anything like that. But yeah, very unfortunate to see their battle coming to a close like that. And yeah, you can see there's some heavy nose damage on the front of Moret's car there.
Yeah, I was about to say that normally, Mike Kelly letting those guys by, I mean, you might give up a little bit of time in your battle, but knowing that they're going to have to pass the guy you're battling too. So, I mean, try to do it in a way that's easiest on everyone and able to lose you the least amount of time, and hopefully you'll gain some time in your rival. But unfortunately, due to that incident, I don't think they actually had to pass Russell Cow there, so Mike Kelly's going to have to do it on his own. There's Troy Eder finally coming out of the pit stop, so he's down in 6th position, quite a bit ahead of Daniel Benefield. So that's due to Benefield's unfortunate incidents there. That's going to be Troy Harder up to 6th position, and back to the battle here as they're both pretty damaged right now.
Yeah, it looks like Moret is even more damaged than John Kelly is at the moment. You can see the closing speed that Kelly had over Moret, and let's see if he just pulls over to let him through.
And there it is. Alright, so John Kelly is back up to 11th. And Tony Ellis talking for the first hour and 45 minutes, all this action, and then now we're following a couple guys with severely damaged cars, kind of lipping around the track here, battling for 11th position.
And on board the rear cam of Troy Harder, it looks like he is going to be getting past Brent Briles, who is, he's now into the pit lane. So that is his final stop, and he's pitting with just over 14 minutes left in the race. So it's going to be a fairly quick stop for Briles. Don't need a whole lot of fuel to finish out those final 14 minutes.
Hey, there I am.
One of the few times we see Brian's car in this race, and actually see it because we're watching Jill Moret in his very, very damaged HPD. Looks like all the suspension is okay, so I'm guessing that's why he's able to continue. But you can just see all the aerodynamic inefficiency he has on the front of that car.
James Cullen just kind of knocking the laps down. Got about a 22-second lead right now, and holy crap, look at that.
Oh, wow. and spinning in front of Brian Carey, who is currently holding in second place, and looks like he's also going to lose another spot back to Jill Moret. And yeah, that's close call there for a few cars, and unfortunate for John Kelly, he's losing a lot of time right now.
There's nothing like driving for over an hour and 45 minutes, no issues, not really racing with anyone. Look down at your dash for half a second and look up and see the side of an HPD about 10 feet in front of you. Luckily everyone got out of that one all right. Luckily I had emptied my bladder and all my other requisite functions there before the race, because otherwise that would have left a mess. James Cullen just kind of driving wherever the hell he wants right now because he can. Why not?
Yeah, at this point, with only just over 12 minutes left on the clock and a over 24-second gap between himself and Brian Carey, not really having to push his car all that hard. Just wants to make sure he can get it to the end at the moment and not have a random spin like Brian, or I guess like Brian had. Hopefully he's able to get through everyone without any issue. You can see he's putting another lap on Corey Davis, who's currently running in second place. And he's actually closed the gap to Todd Carver. It's about 5.5 seconds or so. And so that'll be interesting to see if he can close that gap any further with about 11 minutes left on the clock. Not a whole lot of time, but you can see that's Todd Carver right now going through the hairpin. So he's not all that far back behind the Ford GT leader.
Number fuel is an issue too. I mean, they can't just necessarily run flat out in those Ford GTs. It's going to be pretty marginal for that one stop there. So maybe Corey's done a better job on managing his fuel, and there's Todd Carver up ahead having to save some fuel. So I mean, maybe Corey's just pushing it too hard right now. I mean, who knows? It's kind of hard to say right now, but looks like it is closing up a little bit, down to under 5 seconds right now. A lot of random camera changes right there, but maybe a little dizzy. Oh, wait a second. Mike Kelly is out of the picture here. I'm just noticing I looked to see where John Kuzlin was, and John Kuzlin's up to second place. Mike Kelly is lost it. Oh, why didn't that happen?
Yeah, that's not something James Cullen wants to do here with only 10 minutes left in the race. I mean, he does have a nice gap over Brian Carey in second place, but you know, something like that could turn into a disaster if he's not careful. So definitely might want to be a little bit more careful in these final 10 minutes of the race.
Yeah, it's something we're definitely trying to work on my pace here, try to close the gap to James. He's been clearly faster most of the year, but still at the point of the year where I'm hoping for something like that to happen for me to have a shot at getting on the top step of the podium. Didn't happen for me there.
And we're watching John Kelly as he closes back up to Jill Moret for 11th place, and that gap is about 2 seconds now, under 2 seconds. So we just saw the large amount of damage that Jill has on his car, so I'm not surprised to see that coming down. Although John Kelly also has a fair amount of damage on his HPD as well, but obviously Jill's is a bit more severe than Kelly's.
Does make for an interesting battle, though. We haven't seen Mike Young pretty much all race either. He's our third place man, just coming through the picture right there. And Dan Grolty, again, not having seen him, he's been pretty much solid third position ever since Tim Stahl dropped out, I should say. And
yeah, his gap has come down a bit. It's now about 37.5 seconds off of Todd Carver, 33.5 off of Corey Davis. So, you can see there's an issue there, and John Kelly slowing very much to avoid any contact. Looked like there was an issue between Moret and Mike Young, and of course Mike Young is running in 3rd place at the moment. Not sure what happened exactly. I didn't quite catch it. I was unfortunately looking at the timing and scoring.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of smoke there. I didn't really see what was going on. I was a little bit further up ahead in the camera shot.
So it might be just a bit of miscommunication. It looks like Mike Young gets by easily going into turn 1, so it might be just miscommunication, locked up the brakes or something to avoid contact. And but that's something you don't want happening here in the very final stages of an endurance race.
Well, we're having something happen at any point in an endurance race. But
true, yes, but especially after, yeah, exactly, yep.
Just like knowing these 2-hour races here, I decided to run up and grab myself a nice delicious cold beverage, a Sleeman's Honey Brown Lager, and I know Tim McLeish runs the steam whistle branding on his car, but nothing wrong with a good Sleeman's Honey Brown Lager. If any people here that work for Sleeman's out of Guelph, Ontario are listening to this and want me to mention their product a little bit more on the broadcast, you can reach me through Dan Crony's Sim Racing Dan channel there. He'll get a hold of me and maybe hook me up with some delicious Sleeman's.
You betcha. Anything I can do for you.
I'm not above begging for free beer. Not above it at all. Yeah, you see Troy Hyder in the background there. He's a lap down now in 5th position. So James Cullen really doing a job on most of this HPD field. You give him 2 hours of a race and a clean track for the most part, and this is what will happen.
Yeah, hey, at least I got out before I got lapped, right?
Yeah, there's always that. Looking at the glass is 1/4 full.
Oh, unfortunately it spilled because I flipped the car upside down.
You're right, that glass is no longer full. Also, just like to point out that that is definitely Dan's ghost because he most certainly died in that crash.
Yeah, this is one of his computers that he programmed to take his place in case of something like that.
Yeah, he'll always download his consciousness into the computer before the race,
yep,
just in case it does. And we're working on regenerating one of his clones, and he does have a very large supply down in his sub-basement. Not his regular basement, but his special clone basement, if anyone's...
Yep. The secret lab that he has under his house.
Actually, you know what? If there would be a spoiler alert for anyone out there, so if you don't want to hear about obscure sci-fi movies, shut your ears. But a movie from a few years ago called Moon, which will kind of outline what we're talking about there.
No, I haven't seen it. I still don't feel spoiled at all.
Sounds good.
So I guess since we're really just watching James Cullen do laps around Suzuka right now, we'll go over the top 5 for each class. James Cullen, of course, leading. He has close to 26 seconds over Brian Carey in 2nd place, with Mike Young in 3rd place, a further 40 seconds back from Brian Carey. Anthony Muniz in 4th place, about 7 seconds back from Mike Young, and Troy Harder in 5th place, 1 lap down, so he's not really in contention for anybody up in the top 4. For the Radicals, Russell Cow is the leader with John Kuzlin in 2nd place, but well back, over 1 minute. Mike Kelly, 7 laps down from the leader, so he has retired. Karl Mumbauer has retired, and Daniel Verness also retired, with Chuck Chambliss also retired. So really only 2 Radicals left on the circuit. It's a bit better for the For GTs, Todd Carver currently leading with Corey Davis in second place, about 5.5 seconds back. Daniel Gralty in third, 36 seconds back from Davis. Tim McLeish still on the circuit and running in fourth place, but he's a lap down from the rest of the cars. Stephen Clark also running in fifth place, but 3 laps down from the rest of the cars, so he isn't in contention to make up any more positions. But still out turning laps and getting through the entire 2 hours, which is a feat amongst itself.
I remember I said I had to save my good material for the end of the race. I've got nothing. No good material. I should mention that I just got a haircut today and my head is really itchy, but I don't know if that's going to be of interest to anyone out there.
Well, we can just get ourselves worked up to see the standings and reflect on all the enjoyment we had for the first, 75% of the race.
Yep.
How about this? Favorite moment from the race?
I think it was that early battle with the HPDs, with both you guys involved there, with Anthony, Troy, Daniel, obviously. Those guys kind of battling hard, and actually Daniel battling, swapping positions while I was talking through the track there. That was probably my pilot of the race.
Yeah, that was actually a really fun battle to watch, and really close racing between the HPDs. The HPD doesn't always produce the really close racing. We'll see maybe guys following, fairly closely with about like this, but that was one of the first times this season we've seen guys consistently lap after lap running, basically nose to tail, and so that was a lot of fun to see from the outboard shot instead of just, on board my car when we're actually doing the race. So that was a lot of fun.
I wonder if John's going to be able to get this done before the end of the race here, as James has hit the white flag. Last lap for everyone. Oh, but here's a battle right now. This is Anthony Muniz. I don't know how this happened right now. Mike Young was like 17 seconds ahead of him last time I talked, but we're heading into the final lap here. It looks like Mike's has some fuel issues or damage, but going into the last lap here, it looks like Muniz is coming down to the inside. This is for third position, folks, right now. And Muniz takes it. I don't know what's going on with Mike, but Muniz is able to take the position, and Mike's going to try to fight back, but I'm not sure if he has anything for him right now. It was not like 6 minutes ago when I looked down and that gap was at 17 seconds, and Muniz able to close it right up, and looks like, assuming everyone's able to keep on the track here, that's going to, third position is going to be his. And James McCullen takes the win in the HPD. Really whipping that car around in celebration. Good win for him in the 2 hours.
And Ryan Huff exiting the pits. And I guess he just didn't quite have enough fuel for that last lap.
And Lance Snyder finishing, and hey, there I am finishing second. Look at that. Nice Kaiser Run Sport Alienators Libro car there.
And Jerry Morrisdorf crossing the line in 10th place, with Daniel Benefield also crossing the line in 6th place. So he had a pretty good race. John Kelly, meanwhile, still trying to see if he can't chase down Gilles Moret for 11th. And he's been trying to do it for a couple laps, and he's only got a few more corners left to try.
John Kuzlin there, very solid in the Radicals. Get to the end there, second position, and Muniz does take that third position away from Mike Young. So another podium for Anthony Muniz there. Very, very solid season my broadcasting colleague has had thus far. I think he's pretty much, aside from Road America, finished every race on the podium. Standings, Dan.
Yeah, well, James Cullen tidies up. He has a perfect record here since that second place finishes his drop week. 125 points for him. Brian Carey edging up a little bit more in second. Anthony Muniz in third. Brent Briles, though, taking the fourth spot. Mike Young just behind him. Danny Corney following in sixth. And in Radicals, we have Russell Cow, also with a perfect record, 125 points. Lauren Bateman and John Kuzlin are just 1 point apart in second. And hey, Mike Kelly's only 2 points down for that. So they're pretty much, aside from Carl Mumbauer and Chuck Chambliss, the only guys actually still running in the Radical. But it's good to see at least that the points battle is close between them. In 4 GTs, we have Corey Davis now edging out Eduardo Beninca for the top spot, and he's got 104 points. Standard Giraldi, 2 points down in second. Eduardo Beninca down to third, 5 points down. Tut Carver in fourth, just 6 points down. Timothy Stoll in fifth is the closest, or the last close person, and then after that the field gets pretty far down there in the point spread.
All right, well, coming up, we're actually practicing it for right now. Next race is Zolder, then onto the boot circuit at Watkins Glen, Phillip Island, and Road Atlanta. Zolder's going to be a difficult track, I'll be honest. That's going to be a rough one to do. A lot of chicanes, very tight, multi-class will be difficult there. But then Watkins Glen, Phillip Island, and Road Atlanta will be typical multi-class tracks, and really looking forward to finishing up the season with those 3 tracks.
And I checked, it is spelled wrong, that circuit Zolder. So that's actually just a typo. Should have been I, got the U, it's right next to it. You know how it happens. I'll try to tidy that up for next race. In the meantime, as Brian said, we have to go and practice for tomorrow night's race, so I want to thank you all for watching. As always, to Brian Carey and Anthony Muniz for this excellent commentating work they do. To ISRA League, its admins, its drivers, for making this all possible. And finally, to Z1 Simwheel for their sponsorship of this competition. Have a good night.